Michael, will you tell us something that you believe about investing in hotels that might surprise us?
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that normal people like you and I can actually own hotels. They think it's these big corporate REITs that own them, but there's a lot of mom and pops and a lot of people like us. And something you guys don't know is if you're used to multifamily, I can change my rents, uh, quote unquote, 4 or 5 times a day, depending on what's going on and who's coming in.
Welcome to the source of commercial real estate, where we talk to the experts in commercial real estate so you can grow your business, find a competitive advantage, and use real estate to live the life that you want. I'm your host, Jonathan Hayek. I'm a former public school teacher who found financial freedom through residential real estate investing, and now I invest in commercial properties, particularly small industrial properties. And today's guest is Mike Stohler. He is the co founder of Gateway Private Equity Group, a hotel real estate investment firm. Mike pivoted out of multifamily and into hotel investments for higher returns and better value add opportunities. And since then, he's added branded hotels in the US and is currently buying a boutique hotel in Spain. Mike, thanks for joining us. How's it going today?
I was doing great, Jonathan. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I don't think I've ever had anyone on the show who has specialized in hotels. So this will be new for me and possibly new for listeners. Why don't we start out with you telling us about your background and how you got going in real estate?
Yeah, as most of us, that wonderful book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, that hooked me, and I was blessed to attend a party this past fall with Mr. Kiyosaki, and it was really great getting to know him and talking to him. But I got started back. I call it the PG days, pre-Google, and what happened was, it was easy to buy things. I bought 8 to 10 homes, but then now what? I didn't know how to be a landlord. I couldn't Google anything. There's forms, I mean, how do you evict people and all that stuff. I couldn't, in small town Indiana where I was from, so basically I failed miserably. Imagine that, you look on YouTube, you do all these things and, get rich quick in real estate and no one ever fails and 0 to 1 million and in 5 days, but that's not reality. Failed miserably. We had to sell the house. Moved in with my wife's parents. Very humbling experience. But I knew in the back, I knew in my heart that real estate was it. So what did I do? I pretended to go to an apartment, and apply, and I stole their forms. I don't know if I can say that or not, but I was like going, how are these guys doing it? So I used their forms and started talking to general managers and how do you do things. So I got back into it, and in between that, I became an airline pilot and used that money to get back into real estate. And man, 1,300 units owned and managed. I think we're up to about 1,500 now. And what happened is someone 1031, they had an exchange and they said, I want to buy your portfolio. And I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it. I am golfing every day. I am having fun. I'm set. But they came back 4 times and I was like, I'd be a fool not to take all this money. So I took it and then I was like, now what? Um, Cap rates were compressed, about 4% at the time. And I was like, man, yeah, I'm not going to buy something at 4%. So it's all about networking. I knew a guy that had a lot of years experience in hotels and asked him to go find me stuff, teach me stuff. And the rest is history. Now we love hotels.
Your initial foray into residential, I think you said single family and maybe
Mhm.
some small apartments in there. You called it a failure. And you had to sell your house. You moved in with your wife's parents. Can you encapsulate what caused the failure at that point early in your investing career?
Yeah, it's a great question. It was basically not having the knowledge, not knowing how to evict, buying without doing due diligence. I went buy happy
Hmm.
and realized I picked up some duds that needed a lot of maintenance, a lot of stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I can't even afford, I was putting everything on credit cards, and I'm just, you know, up on the roof and fixing it myself. I learned how to do plumbing. It's like, what in the world did I get myself into? And it basically came down to, it's like, I finally evicted people, and it's like, okay, what do I do? How do I find tenants? Put an ad in the newspaper. That's how far back it was. And bad parts of town, and just it just didn't work out. I just, every person I went into, um, that I got in there didn't pay, and I was like, oh, how do I do this? And the evictions, and I was just ill prepared for the landlord aspect of it. And we ended up having to return them all.
So you pivoted into hotels. It sounds like you generated an impressive portfolio of
Mhm.
multifamily assets, and you might still own some today, but
Mhm.
uh, you decided to pivot into hotels. Tell me about that decision process. Why hotels?
Yeah, I liked the fact that, this is kind of funny for all you multifamily people out there. You can probably relate. I started really disliking people, you know, uh, tenants. It's like, quit flushing this stuff down the drain, quit
Mhm.
yelling at each other, quit doing this. I'm like, oh my God, it's the C-class apartment complex people. Um, Not all of them were bad, but my God, I was like going, if I never see another tenant in my entire life, I'd be happy. Um, but what I found out is that hotels, because it's a business, and I like the aspect of it being a business, the commercial space and the cap rates, you can make a lot more on hotels, and it's a longer hold period. You can build up the business, get it going, work with the franchises. And I like the fact that because of my disdain for people, I like the fact that, hey, you give me a credit card up front, you pay me up front, you stay for 2 days, and you're gone. I like that. So I ended up, we have several hotels now, and we're building them and buying them internationally. And it's fun dealing with more of a business aspect. I guess that's where more of my heart is instead of dealing with residential.
So tell me more about your specific strategy. What markets are you operating in, and
Mhm.
what kind? There's all kinds of hotels out there. So what's your buy box? What are you looking for?
Yeah, if you'd asked me that question in 2019, it'd probably been a completely different answer. But COVID changed the world. It changed hotels. It changed how I think about hotels. Um, what we found out is, and even with the economy today, it's completely different. So during the COVID time, what that taught me is, and not to get political, but I will only buy hotels where they will not force me to shut down. Um, I don't think it's up to a state government to say, guess what, you can't be a business. You can't run your business, and we don't care if you're going to go out of business. We don't, So I'll only buy hotels where I have the choice. And thank God that my hotels were, because none of our hotels had to shut down. We figured it out, put our heads together, and I had a lot of friends that went out of business because they couldn't run their business, but the bank still wanted their payments. Um, and it was a shame. So we looked at that, and then I looked at what type of our hotels did really well, which ones did not, and we found out that outside of the city, by a highway, a major intersection, the limited service, mid class or upper mid scale, did extremely well. Your Quality Inns, your Wingates, Comfort Inns, those types of things. Because what was going on, truck drivers are still going. The essential services still needed a place to stay. So we love that type of limited service where you go in, here's your free internet, here's your free breakfast, and then you're gone. Um, what has changed, and during COVID, it was the full service and the resorts that really suffered because they're more of a conference room, restaurant. That's the big these events are the biggest part of their routine. But now, high interest rates, the economy sucks. All these things that are happening. What type of person is still traveling? Well, your mom and pop, your husband and wife with 3 kids, they're staying at home now. So now our limited service hotels aren't doing as well. They're still exceeding, but they're not exceeding our expectations. But they're still exceeding 2019 numbers, 2020 numbers. But the ones that are doing really well are the upscale boutiques, the hotels, the finer hotels, because who's traveling is people where they don't care what the cost of eggs are. They can afford to go no matter what. They're not even seeing the effects of the economy. So it's changed. So what we're doing is we're now focusing on both sides of it. It's kind of like diversifying your portfolio. If one goes down and one goes up, you still have those others. So we're getting into some full service stuff. I'm doing a very large ground up build, which will be opening up the syndication probably in April or May. And it's going to be a high end Hilton with a rooftop bar. It's going to be full service. It's going to be really nice. But we're also concentrating on the high end boutiques in Spain. And we're looking at 3 or 4 of those. So it's a mix.
And is there a value add play? Is this a cash flow play? Is this like buy a distressed asset and improve operations, improve the rooms, and sell? Or are you a long term holder?
Yeah, because it's a business, they are longer term holds most of the time in hotels because it is a business. You have to get the gross revenues up, expenses down. We just have to do that thing that all the general partners do. But most of them are, I'd say, minimum of 5 year. Hotels are longer term, and it's mainly because it takes that time. If we buy a distressed asset, maybe it's because what's really weird with hotels and some of the things that we look at is in certain areas of certain cities, certain towns, different hotels do better. If you're in a very small town, you don't need a Marriott there. You need a Motel 6, you need a Comfort Inn or Quality Inn. So we may go in and change the franchise to better suit that area, fix it up. We do what's called the PIP, which is changing out the Gen 4, Gen 5 of whatever the franchise wants. Kind of fix it up, and then with that new franchise, we hold it for another 3 to 5 years because it takes a year for the world to realize that hey, there's a Radisson in this town. For all the marketing and sales and all that sort of stuff, the revenue generation and reservations and all that sort of stuff. So it takes at least a year to get those things back up and running. So we'll hold it for another 5, get it going, and then our this one that we're selling right now we've had for 7 years.
And can you walk me through kind of what was the business plan? Like, is it corporately flagged? Is it a boutique hotel? What have you done with it?
Well, the ones in the United States are franchises.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we like franchises, there's a need for both independents and franchises. But if you're in anywhere USA, go with the franchise. So we like the franchises, and we like certain types of franchises because as soon as we go with the Hilton, as soon as we go with the Wyndham, we now have 100 million potential customers because of the rewards programs. If it's going to be in a corporate setting, in a corporate mall, you go with one of the larger ones because the people who travel for corporations and businesses, they love those points because what happens when they take the families on vacations, they stay at the Hilton. They're it's kind of like Chevy and Ford. You're brand loyal. So we look at those things. If it's in a resort town like Sedona, Arizona, ski resorts, somewhere like that, like in Spain, you can do the independent because people don't want to stay at a Hilton or Marriott in certain areas of the world. They want to have that Southwest feel or that boutique feel of the local environment. So it plays both ways.
And so, with the property that you're selling, sounds like it was probably corporately owned as a franchise.
It's a franchise.
So, How did that deal? How did that deal go for you?
Went well. We bought it for $5 million 7 years ago,
How many
and
rooms?
81 rooms, 81 keys. Um, it was a Fairfield switch to Best Western. And then we switched it to a choice because there wasn't any other limited service choices in that town. So it's just another thing that we play with. And 7 years later, and we have distributions, very, very good distributions. People are going to more than double their, probably 3 times, I think 2.8 times uh, the investment, and we're selling for 8.7. Um, no brokers, it was off market, and once you get kind of big enough and well known, you have groups that you can find that are kind of buying in the area and say, hey, and well, this one, they actually approached us, said, we're looking in this town and we want this. The negotiations start to happen, but it's nice when you can save $300,000 or more in commissions.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, something that concerns me about working with national tenants, this includes retail as well, like working with a national QSR franchisor, is there pressure the from the from the corporate office to constantly update, and we're rebranding, and so you have to change signage, you have to change carpet, and you have to change your breakfast
Yeah.
area. That seems like there could potentially be some massive capex bills. How does it work when you're partnering with a large company?
Yeah. Great question. Certain franchises are extremely picky on those things, and we call those PIPs, property enhancement improvement plans, the PIP. Some are very lax. For instance, one of the hotels was a Radisson. We switched it to a Wyndham. Wyndham came in and said, you know what? All your furniture, everything's is real nice because they're less than 3 years old.
Hmm.
Just go ahead and keep them, but we want these 4 pages of things. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not doing 4 pages worth of things. So it's just like everything else, a negotiation. I brought it down to about a page and a half. And some of them, like, I'm just not doing it. I'm not going to change the porte cochere. It's going to cost me $60,000 because no one cares. And so it gets to the point where it's like, how bad do you want me to put a Wyndham there? I will do some of the things, but if it doesn't generate me revenue, I'll put in. One of the things they required was a marketplace. I'm like, oh, sure, I get revenue from that.
Hmm.
What I'm not going to do is repaint the trim every 5 years, to a different color, or do some of these things. But then you get into some like the Marriotts and the Hiltons. You will every 7 or 8 years, and what's great is, but you're going to change it because all of a sudden it's Gen 2 or Gen 4 of our look, and you no longer can have red chairs. It needs to be blue. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So, but you have to do it. But what they do is you don't have this big amount all at the one time. They'll say, hey, you have to do these type of case goods this year, but everything has to be done within a 5-year period. But what you do is what's going to happen, and you just put in reserves for the PIP. And that's why, like the one that I'm going to build here in Scottsdale, I'm going with what's called a soft brand. So that is kind of a new aspect for franchise hotels, is these soft brands. What you can do with the soft brand is it's going to be a Hilton Tapestry Collection. And Hilton won't even be on the name. It won't even be on the hotel. It'll be whatever, Mike's Hotel. I can name it whatever. But with the soft brand, they just have to have a certain level of elegance. But I can put anything I want to in it. It can have that Southwest feel, the Scottsdale chic look. I can put whatever furniture and whatever updates I can or want. It just has to be a certain level. So I like that soft brand thing instead of just that cookie cutter, you've got a double tree, and every double tree in the entire United States has to look exactly the same. Um, so yeah, there are some expenses, but you know it, and so you just put in some reserves and do it.
Mike, I uh, tried to stop investing in multifamily because it was too operationally intensive, so much
Mm-hmm.
management. Now, when I think about hotels, I just think, oh my gosh, what a headache. It just seems like hotels would be one headache after another. So, can you tell me about some of the key components to the successful management aspect of
Mm-hmm.
a hotel?
Yeah, great question. So number one, you have uh, a general manager at every hotel. That's kind of like the CEO of the hotel is someone that has experience and knows that franchise or knows that back end reservation system. And then you have a team of what's called the property management team, and you may have an area person that handles Arizona, or you have handles Colorado. But if you hire a great GM, I don't have to ever go to that hotel because they're able to handle everything. And then if it's a large enough hotel, you have a housekeeping manager. You maybe have a front desk manager, and they handle the scheduling and everything um, for those departments. And then you have your engineer, which is your maintenance guy. So the whole key, it can be a pain in the ass if you don't have a great GM. It's all about the team, all about the people that you hire. And then I have a CFO, they handle the finances. You have to get to a point when you own a business or several businesses, because every hotel is a separate business. You just have to hire the team and stay out of the way. My job is to find and analyze and buy, and I have to rely on those people in every one of the hotels to run it efficiently. And then I just get on calls once a month, with the team.
So, are you responsible for asset management in the general partnership, or do you have another partner that does asset management?
Yeah, good question. Like in Spain, I have an entire team that'll run. I have someone that, my God, I can't believe I was able to get this person, but everyone's heard of BlackRock. Um, this person did all of BlackRock's acquisitions over in Europe and Spain. So he's running the show over there. I have another partner that is in Spain 6 or 7 months out of the year. They're going to be running the European market. Over here, I'm kind of the very high level. I have people that run the operations for me. Um, but if there's like expenses exceed something, or there's like major decisions, something bad happens, I get called in to make the final decision. But where I was 7, 8, 10 years ago is very different from where I am now. Um, 7 years ago, or the ones that during COVID, I was involved every day, just trying to figure out how to survive. But uh, I don't have to do the operations anymore. I have people that run it for me.
Okay, that's great to hear because I guess what I was getting at is how often either you as the asset manager on the GP team or a
Hmm.
partner that's in charge of asset management,
Hmm.
how often are you getting phone calls from say you own a Comfort Inn in
Hmm.
Topeka, Kansas, and how often are you getting phone calls that a room is trashed or
I don't.
the clientele that's coming in is not great or uh, you know
Hmm.
I imagine, you said you don't. I imagine maybe you're initiating calls if maybe numbers are down or, you're not hitting revenue that you want to hit.
Yeah. So every week I get reports from the GM and from the operations team. So every week I know exactly how we are, how we're doing, what our bookings look like for the next week. I know how we did compared to last year, last quarter, year to year, year over year. So I get probably 8 or 10 reports every week on the assets. And I'm able to look, and usually what happens is I'll initiate the phone call or the email saying, hey, I don't like this. What's going on? Explain this to me. And a lot of times it's just simple something or other. When I get the emails, it's like, Mike, we just had 8 rooms down because uh, something flooded. The water heater broke. It's 400 gallons and it went all over the first floor. Those are the phone calls that I usually get. But then most of the time I'll initiate it if I don't see something that I like in one of the reports. But the only time that they call me is if something, it's like when I see it on my phone, I'm like, oh crap, what's going on? Because usually when they call me, it's not good.
And Mike, you love hotels so much that you are opening one overseas in Spain. Will you tell me what you're learning about opening hotels in Europe right now?
Yeah, Spain is a lot of fun. It's kind of like here in the United States where I'll only own hotels or run hotels in certain states. It's the same in Europe. I really like the Barcelona area. It's Catalonia. Um, they're kind of like the capitalistic side of Spain. They're probably like the only area that's capitalistic and not so socialist. But what we're finding is dealing with Spain. It's my God. It's the just the paperwork on my side is tremendous and a pain. And thank God I have people over there. Um, it's crazy. It's like they make it expensive for me. Every single one of us has gotten something notarized, right? It costs $10, or it's free at your bank. $600 for a notary in Spain. I'm just, but you have to do it. And I can get assets in Spain for next to nothing because the people in Spain are not. How do I say it? I don't want to offend anyone in Spain if they're listening, but they're not accustomed to being entrepreneurs. Okay. All they want is I have my apartment, I get my holiday pay, I have just enough money to do this, I have the car, I have money to go to the bar, and that's it. It's like they don't want to get promoted. They don't have that entrepreneur sense because it's just not bred in the end of that system in Europe. No one owns anything over there, or it's very rare. You have some shopkeeping, in small shops, but it's not that way. So they give, and if someone in Spain were to buy this Masia, then the government would go, "Where'd you get that money? We need to tax you more?" It's just a pain. They want to stay under the radar 100% of the time and just be happy. So they give a lot of grants, a lot of opportunities to outside investors. And ladies and gentlemen, it's just it. We're getting ready to buy. There's a syndication that's open right now on our website. It's a 1,000-year-old estate that sits up on its own mountain top. It's in the mountains, 40 minutes outside of Barcelona. You can see the Mediterranean Sea from it. It's 11 rooms, and it was considered TripAdvisor's one of the top 25 small hotels in all of Spain. And we're just getting it for next to nothing. And I'm like, why would I ever build or buy something in the United States again? We can make all the money back in a year and a half, the entire cost of the entire asset. But yes, it's a pain in the major butt to get it going the first time for us GPs. On the investor side, it's easy. I mean, it's there's treaties. There's no double taxations. That's just what most people worry about. So it's easy for the investor, but it's a pain to get them. It's a long process. They love their naps, they love their siestas, and it's like you call someone up. Oh no, it's another federal holiday, and I'm like, oh my god. So it's slow moving, but once you get it, everything's fine.
And this will be your first project in Europe?
Correct. So we're buying another one on just a joint venture with me and some other guys. But this is our first one in Spain. It took me a long time to convince myself or have my partners convince me that this is what we're doing. They actually had me come over and look at some of these places, and I'm just like, my God, I want to live there. So it's our first go at it, but because it's our first one, I wanted to make sure that we have a very, very strong team uh, in Spain, in Barcelona, to handle all the operations. People that are very versed, have a lot of experience with those types of hotels and assets, or else I wouldn't do it.
I'm wondering how a deal like this might compare to a typical multifamily deal. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like it's more of a cash flow play because it sounds like it's operating really well, but you're buying it at a really low basis. But I'm thinking the exit in 5 or 7 or 10 years, there may not be a huge upside because it sounds like there's maybe just not tons of demand for these kinds of assets in Spain. Will you correct me or kind of tell me how it compares to a typical multifamily deal?
Yeah, great question. So this is more of a lifestyle play. What we're finding out and talking to people that own these type of uh, boutiques is this is a very probably going to be a very long hold. Okay, within the PPM paperwork, we have three different exit strategies. But the typical investor that we're starting to see are world travelers, and there's like, Mike, we don't. After they've seen this, they're like, why would you ever sell it? Let's hold on to this for 20, 30 years, um, and just and just do the cash flow. What you're the I'll correct you on one thing. So what happened with this Masia or this estate is when it shut down. It's an elderly owner, and they didn't reopen the hotel part after COVID. Okay, so those are the type of assets that we're looking at, three or four in Spain, and they're elderly. Like another, we're getting ready to buy a castle. I can't believe it. It's like I'm going to own a castle that was built. This is really young. It was built in the 1600s, um, instead of the 10th century. But it's a play where they're off market. Um, they haven't been open since COVID. Now, the one that we're buying that's open to syndication now, it's so well known and so popular that what they're doing is they haven't marketed it. The website's not on, but there's event planning um, companies out there that said, please, we're still getting so much requests for this place. Can you just open it up for weddings or corporate events? And so they do it, and they're making $500,000 a year, not doing anything. They just get a call and say, yeah, here's $100,000 wedding that's going to come in, 5 days, $100,000, and they're just banking it. And that's what this is. We're going to really concentrate on that. We're going to have a U.S. based marketing team. We have a Spanish based travel marketing team, and a lot of it's just going to be these destination weddings, destination corporate retreats. Um, if I don't have to use an OTA, which is like a third party booking site, man, I'd love it. But what we're going to do is then do a full, bring it up. It has a extremely popular restaurant when it was open, and the mayor of the town. It's funny when you're dealing with Spain and things like that. And you have the small villages that are 10, 15 minutes away. You talk with the mayor. You say, okay, what charity do I need to give money to in order to get these things done? So it's funny, but we had dinner with the mayor and the Forest Service, and they want it back in because it was such a popular place. It brought up the economy of the place. So they're actually being very kind to us. And there, because it sits on its own mountaintop, it has 40 acres. They're plateaus, and we're actually going to put casitas or individual villas around down in through the valley to bring up our room count.
Mike, talk to a listener who's considering investing actively in hotels or motels in the US.
Mhm.
What's your best piece of advice for someone considering getting involved in hotels?
On the GP side or LP?
Yep, yeah, actively.
Actively. Boy, if you think it's anything like multifamily, you're wrong. Um, get a mentor. Don't do it yourself. Get a partner. Do a JV your first time. Get someone like me with a lot of experience to come in as a JV. Learn because you have 20 or more employees, because it's a business, um, because it's a franchise. And here's another thing: is Marriott, Hilton, all these franchises, they're not going to give you that hotel if you don't have experience, because they don't want the bad reviews and you not knowing what to do, and it tarnishes their reputation. So even if you had millions of dollars, just say, hey, I'm going to pay cash for this Hilton. Hilton won't give it to you. They just won't do it. So get somebody, and that's what I did with this partner of mine. He had to be on the loan and on the franchise, even though it was all of my money, because he's the one with the experience. And now, I have that experience, but you can't, if you want to get in a hotel and you don't have experience, you have to probably go independent.
Mike, if listeners want to connect with you, learn more about hotels, and learn more about what you're doing, where would you like to send people?
Sure. Website is Gateway PE, as in private equity, gatewaype.com. I have LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn. It's Michael Stohler. I have my own podcast where we talk about hotels. I have a YouTube channel where you can look at, if you're interested possibly in Spain, Mike Stohler, just look up my name on YouTube. You'll see a bunch of videos. There's a wonderful drone flyover of the estate, which is really cool. And it's one of those storybook places that just like, man, you just want to do it. But get a hold of me there. And if you say, especially like on LinkedIn, if you say, hey, I heard you on Jonathan's podcast, I'd love to answer your questions and get to know you.
Mike, I appreciate your time today. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you, John.
Listeners, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you. If you want to connect with us, reach out to us. We love talking about commercial real estate and investing in hotels. So please reach out to us. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you. Until next time, take care.